Good evening to everyone. I hope you are having an amazing day on today. I just feel a peaceness and a calmness. It's just like it's like a rest, and it's a calmness and a peace that people are at peace and rest. And it's like I just went like that's it. People need rest, they need peace, they need calmness, they need to be whole, they need to be one. And I just thank God. I thank God on tonight for being here with you guys. I thank God for allowing us to assemble ourselves together to build each other up, to encourage each other. And so I'm just grateful to be among you guys because God has chosen us to be here on tonight. And for those of you guys that are on Facebook watching, I'm telling you, we have been having an amazing time here on Tuesday nights at 6:30 p.m. with prayer and Bible study, talking about great topics. Last week, if you missed the topic on anger, you need to go back to that because I really had a time with that topic on last week. But it was a blessing because after Evangelist Phil talked about anger, guess what happened? The attacks immediately started happening because the enemy comes to immediately to steal, kill, and destroy. So he came immediately to steal the word. And Wednesday, boom, got attacked. Thursday got attacked. Friday got attacked. Saturday and Sunday peaceful, and then yesterday got attacked. And all I can hear was the message on Tuesday that helped me all during that week because the enemy came immediately to test and try my faith each and every day. So I remember what we talked about on this last week. And so I thank God. I thank God for the Bible studies. I thank God for the prayers. I thank God for us coming together and uplifting one another. So I just thank God. And so as I began to think about what God wanted me to talk about for tonight, I had a whole nother message. And I had that like a week out before Evangelist talked. And I said, well, Lord, I can't do that message. He said, no. He said, no, I want you to stay right there where she at. But he said, I don't want you to use the topic of anger because it goes along with what she talked about. He said, people need to hear that message because a lot of people deal with it, but they don't deal with it, if that makes sense. And so tonight's topic is going to be on self-control. Self-control.
Come on.
And so, are you in control of you? That's the question. So I want you guys to think about that. Are you in control of you? So if someone was to ask you, are you in control of you? What would you say? That's the first question. Number two question is, what is one thing that you feel that you can work on tonight that will help you get more self-control over a situation or circumstance? So what is that one thing, just one thing that you can work on tonight to help you get more self-control over that situation or circumstance? And for me, it is patience and my attitude. And we're going to talk a little bit about that patience and attitude. And I'll give you guys an example. So like Wednesday, I told you immediately enemy came to steal the word, right? So that Wednesday, I had to order some shoes. I ain't getting my shoes. That's a problem for me, brother. It's a problem. I didn't get my shoes. So I called a place and they put me through 500 loops. I feel like 500 loops. But guess what? I remember one thing we talked about in Bible study. You got to be careful how you talk to people because guess what? There goes your what? Witness. So you can't draw nobody to the Lord, even though I don't know where them people at. But I had to be careful how I talk to the people because it wasn't their fault that my shoes didn't come and they messed up my order and they gave me the wrong name to my address. It wasn't their fault. It was somebody else's fault in the store. So I had to watch how I talk to the person. And God reminded me, oh, there go your witness. If you about to get an attitude, where's your patience at? And so I had to remember that. Test it. Thursday came. I had to watch my attitude again. Thanksgiving Day, right? Everybody got to be thankful. Honey, I was like looking at some folks. Like, what? Like, didn't you hear what I said? And the Lord said, watch your witness. Who you talking to? Because then how you go draw that? They looking at you. They about to run from you. Oh, get it together. And guess what? I had to go outside and get myself together. Where's your witness? Friday came. Same situation. I called Best Buy. They would not pick up the phone for nothing. I just needed one answer. Just one answer. Oh, it took them an hour with some change. Oh, my goodness. And guess what? I had to have patience. So I just hung up. Then I think one lady, she was talking to me. I understand what she's saying. I couldn't do it no more. So I said, let me just hang up the phone and call back in. then let me see if I can get somebody else that I can kind of get through this process. So the patience, the attitude, all of that. Again, going back to what we talked about on last week, where's your self-control at? Where's your patience at? Are you getting angry? If you're getting out of control, can you handle all of this? This pressure. It was pressure being applied. And then yesterday, somebody sent me a teed off email right before I go home for work. And boy, why did they do that? I was about to type that thing in. And God said, I felt my spirit man say, Tone, don't go the same way they just gave you. You better than that. So he said, go back and erase some of that stuff and rewrite it in a way where they won't take it in a negative tone, because you want to come that way, but don't you give it that way. He said, change that word. Your words have meaning. So change that one word and make it say something else so they'll take it a little differently. Right. So I changed the word. But boy, did I want to say, like, are you kidding me? I'm helping you and you acting like a jackrabbit. That's what I wanted to say. But I couldn't say that. So self-control, patience, and my attitude. Because guess what? There's a lot of people on that feed. So that means they was watching me and they were watching them. So I had to be careful what I was doing because I'm leading people. So are you in control of you? And what is one thing that you feel that you can work on tonight to help you get better self-control over a situation or circumstance? So I want to hear from you guys. So I told you my two things. It was the patience and the attitude.
For me, it's my impulsiveness and that's really it.
Okay.
Yeah, because like I probably, if I start with that, I'd probably be all right. Because that impulsiveness leads to the rest of the stuff.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So if I control the impulsiveness, and then I would say, if I could, I won't say recognize, I'll say if I stop ignoring the triggers, stop ignoring them.
God.
Not that I don't know what they are, I absolutely do. But if I stop ignoring like they ain't my triggers.
Oh, wow.
So that might be a little self-righteousness too. That come all together. So self-righteous, impulsiveness, and ignoring triggers.
Good one, Evangelist. Good one. Next.
Say the question again.
So, what is one thing that you feel you can work on tonight to help you better with self-control with a situation or a circumstance? What bothers you that would take you into another zone, like go left instead of right?
I'll say patience.
Patience.
For myself, with certain situations that I encounter with certain people, and learn to keep my mouth closed. Don't. Everything is not required. What your mom gonna say? Everything's not required. Rebuttal, basically. So sometimes let the person say what they're gonna say, and me kind of ignore it, pay it no attention, brush it off, whatever. So I have to bridle my tongue.
Bridle your tongue.
Don't be quick to respond immediately. I guess for me, I'm so used to being quiet, not saying anything, but now I'm at this point where I ain't letting nothing by. So then now I got to kind of recant it, go back a little bit. So be a little bit more patient.
Be a little bit more
passion, of the situation. So,
okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
What you grinning about?
Yeah, I was like.
I mean, I don't know a word for this, but what gets me going sometimes is that, especially like in meetings and sometimes in meetings that I'm in, working with people and things like that. When I'm in a meeting and people start to talk over other people and start to talk over me, and that drives me crazy. If you want to get my temperature up and I have to catch myself, then before I realize it, my voice is done like going up 2 or 3, whatever, because I've kind of moved to you're not going to talk over me. Yeah. Or you're not going, I'm like, wait a minute now, I'm going to say what I'm going to say, you're not going to talk. Or I gave you the opportunity to talk.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what, but, in saying that, I have to kind of mind myself to be kind of say, try not to rage, because then it's not only that person, that everybody that's on the call, you kind of yelling at everybody. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You're yelling at everybody. And so, I think it's kind of like a little bit what we talked about last. So I understand, okay, like a couple people, that's just how they do. They gonna talk over. That's just what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, one of the things that we try to do is, okay, we need to structure our meetings in a way to kind of help, kind of curtail some of this talking over. We had to put some rules, let me say, around the meetings. Meaning that, okay, if you gotta say something, use the thing, you gotta raise your hand. If you gotta, and so that's kind of helped, like it's helped the whole meeting, really, because we were talking over everybody, and then you don't get nothing done. And me and one of the guys would talk after the meeting, so what are we supposed to do? What are we? And so then we were like, well, we don't know what we're supposed to do, or what the result of it was.
Yeah.
But that's my biggest thing. One of the biggest things I've been trying to deal with is that being mindful that when somebody's doing that, that to kind of keep my cool and keep myself under control and try to not be raising my voice and do it in reaction to kind of what they're doing.
Right. So that was self-control. We all have little self-control things that triggers us to, maybe go in another direction when we should be going right instead of, going left. And so self-control. So tonight, self-control is our topic. And so self-control is defined as the ability to control oneself and a particular one's emotions and desires or the expression of them and one's behavior, especially in difficult situations. So we all describe some difficult situations that we have to control ourselves, control our behaviors and what we're saying and what we're doing and our facial expressions. And sometimes even when I wanted some shoes, that was a desire, so hey, self-control, being patient, don't talk to the people any kind of way because you're mad you ain't got your shoes yet, or they messed up your address and you now told them 3 or 4 times and you called in. So self-control, showing that you got to have self-control. So we're going to talk tonight about what God says about self-control. We're going to be coming from the book of Nehemiah, chapter 4. That's going to be 1 through 23. But before we jump into that, we're also going to be talking about what we can have as attributes of God to show godliness, so people will know that we are God's children. We are his people. We are believers in him. And we're going to talk about Galatians 5:22-23. So Galatians 5:22 through 23. And I'm using the English Standard Version. And it says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. So if you're looking at what it says in Galatians 5:22-23, do you feel that you have those attributes? Do you see yourself with those attributes, that fruit of the Spirit? Because as Christians and believers, we got to have that to be able to display to other people, to draw people to the Lord, right? So you have to have some of those attributes. And actually, it said all of them. It didn't say some. It said all. It gave us a lot of it. And self-control is one of them. That's my issue. Patience, that's my issues. So they'll go hand in hand with the fruit of the Spirit. So when you look at that, do you have those attributes? You have to look at yourself and do a self-exam. You don't have to tell anybody, but look at yourself and say, Lord, what can I work on better with having the fruit of the Spirit so that I can exert some self-control over certain situations that I have to encounter? Now, Nehemiah chapter 4, verses 1 through 23. If someone can start reading for me from verses 1 through chapters 1 through 6, chapter 4, verses 1 through 6, Nehemiah. Nehemiah chapter 4, 1 through 6, and then we'll pick it up from there.
Nehemiah chapter 4. Okay.
Verse 1 through 6.
But it came to pass that when Sanballat heard that we build the wall, he was wroth and took great indignation and mocked the Jews. And he spake before his brethren and the army of Samaria, and said, what do these feeble Jews? Will they fortify themselves? Will they sacrifice? Will they make an end in a day? Will they revive the stones out of the heaps of the rubbish which are burned? Now Tobiah the Ammonite was by him, and he said, even that which they build, if a fox go up, he shall even break down their stone wall. Hear, O our God, for we are despised, and turn their reproach upon their own head, and give them for a prey in the land of captivity. And cover not their iniquity, and let not their sin be blotted out from before thee. For they have provoked thee to anger before the builders. Verse 6. So built we the wall, and all the wall was joined together unto the half thereof, for the people had a mind to work.
So this is Nehemiah chapter 4, and it's talking about Sanballat and Tobiah. And they are doing some stuff. They're being really, really messy. They're up here trying to get the people that want to build back the wall of Jerusalem. They're trying to come after them. They're trying to attack them. They're trying to discourage them. They're trying to keep them from doing God's work. So they're coming after them pretty hard. They know that there's rubbish, there's stones, and they're talking real just junk, just junk altogether. So let's talk about Sanballat. Sanballat is best known from the book of Nehemiah as an individual that casts him as one of the chief opponents of the Jewish governor Nehemiah. So he don't like Nehemiah. Nehemiah is a book, but he don't like Nehemiah. He sees who Nehemiah is. He knows Nehemiah has great strategies and he can work some good things to help the Jews out. So he don't like him. He just don't like him. He can't stand him. And if he could do something to Nehemiah, he would. He just don't like him. So now Nehemiah has to be faced with him, Sanballat, and how he don't like him, and how he's coming after him, and how he's trying to attack him and do things to him. And then you have Tobiah. So according to the book of Nehemiah, in the Hebrew Bible, in the Old Testament, Tobiah was an Ammonite official who attempted to hinder Nehemiah's effort to rebuild Jerusalem after the Babylon exile and took over the storerooms of the temple for his own use. So he didn't like Nehemiah either, and he didn't like the Jews either. So whatever he could do to discourage them or distract them, that's what he was going to do. And so sometimes in life, we have distractions. We have people coming up against us to discourage us, to bring us out of what? Character, so we can lose our what? Self-control. So self-control, you have control over your behavior, your actions, your desires, and your expressions is what it talked about with the definitions, right? So when somebody bringing you out of your normal character, then now everybody get to see the other side that we don't want to show. Because we know we ain't supposed to show it, but somebody can bring it out if you allow them to. That's why you have to have self-control, not to allow people to bring you out of character. And I remember last week when we were talking about anger, manipulation is a part of that. Self-control. Sometimes people are used and they are trying to manipulate you into doing what they want you to do if you don't have no self-control. So if everybody say, go over here and let's jump off the bridge, are you going to go over there? Or are you going to have some self-control and say, nah, I ain't about to kill myself? So self-control is important for you to be able to make it in life and to be able to overcome some obstacles, some situations, and things that are going on in your life. So it talked about that. So let's go to that first verse 1-3. And it says, but it so happened when Sanballat heard that we were rebuilding the wall that he was furious and very indignant and mocked the Jews. So what nerve of him to mock the Jews? Who gave Sanballat the right to mock the Jews? God's people, God's anointed, God appointed one. Yeah. And I say this very respectfully, you know, that I was just thinking about it as I was going through this and reading all about what was going on here. And I remember people were mocking me. I like literally this year, people, and you won't think people do it, but God brought it to my attention that I had a relative that would like just really pick on me because I go to church. And you see what I'm saying? And you would think, and at first, I let it slide. Like you said, you let it slide, and I let it slide. And then after a while, I noticed they were doing it in front of other family members so that it could be a joke about it. And then God, started talking to me about it one day in my living room. He said, you know what? They don't realize what they're doing. They didn't, because they was picking on me to make it to be a joke for everybody to have a ha laugh, but it really wasn't funny. They were actually mocking me and didn't know what they were doing. And so God said, you know what? All you have to do is pray for them, LaShauna. Pray for them, because they really need to be saved and turned over to the Lord. Don't say anything bad to them, or don't say anything bad about them, but you pray for them that their soul may be turned over to the Lord, because they need Jesus. They need to be saved, and they don't even know about church. So you might be the only Jesus they see, even though they're making fun of you, but God can let you be the person that be used to draw them into the fold, because they do have leadership qualities and skills. Everybody following them, everybody listening to them. So he said, I can use a person like that, but you have to keep praying for them, because they don't get it. They don't understand, and they don't know what they're doing. They're making a mockery out of you. But God said, I'll show them, hey, who you really are. Because they just thought you was just going to church, or you a young girl, you went to church, and then you still in church, and you in your mid-40s, and why you going to church? You did church. They didn't understand that, because they don't go to church. So God dealt with me on that. You pray for them, and pray in the right way. Not angry, not impulsive, not in any way to down them or anything like that, but to draw them back to the Lord. So mocking. So he had a problem. He wasn't to mock God's people. Okay? So in verse 2 it says, and he spoke before his brethren in the armory of Samaria and said, what are these feeble Jews doing? Will they fortify themselves? Will they offer sacrifices? Will they complete it in a day? Will they revive the stones from the heaps of the rubbish stones that are burnt? So now he going a little deeper. He gonna take a little further and say, what are these feeble Jews? Like, what are they doing? He now talking about how weak they looking. They all looking all broke down, like they've been working for months to get this wall built. And he's talking junk. Oh, they can't do nothing. Look at how weak they look. Oh, they look like they hungry. Oh, he look anorexic. Oh, he's talking a whole lot of stuff about them. How feeble the Jews look, like they look wore down. And then he says, will they fortify themselves? Like, will they really be able to be stronger this time if they try to build this? They ain't gonna get this done. So they really attacking them really more with words. Notice he using what? Words to attack them. Words does matter, right? Words can hurt you, and words cannot hurt you if you don't allow it to. But they're using words to come up against them. And as you keep hearing those words, what begin to happen? Your mind will begin to what? Roam and think about it. Them thoughts start to sink in. Then you start to get what? Discouraged. Oh, they working on them now. And that's what the devil do. He work on us with situations that we got to encounter to what? Discourage us. So he know that if he discourage you, sometimes what'll happen, you get out of control in a situation or area in your life, whether it's in your job, your personal, or whatever it is, he'll have you get out of control. And before you know, you over to the left, and you're supposed to be on to the right. So he working on them. And he says, will they offer sacrifices? Now he's talking about, so now y'all gonna offer something to your God, and you gonna wait for your God to do. I'm telling you, they is working on it, talking junk about the Jews. And then they said, will they complete it in a day? Meaning that y'all can't possibly have that much manpower to think that y'all have enough to complete this wall in a day. It's going to take y'all years. It's going to take you months. So what are y'all still over there building for? What you building for? Look how much rubbish y'all got. Don't y'all see them stones over there? Don't y'all see how much stuff y'all got to do to put this wall back together? Don't y'all see that big gap? Also, they talking junk still. And will they revive the stones from the heaps of the rubbish and stones that are burnt? Because they had to move all of the rubbish stones that have already been down and burnt. They had to go in before they can build the wall back up. They had to go back and move all those blocks. And guess what? The Jews were scared, because they know if they move those blocks and open up the big gap of the wall where people can enter in and attack them, then they're in trouble. And then they got to work to get it, and they don't have the capacity. They don't have the manpower. So now they're like, oh my gosh, should we do it? Should we not do it? Should we do it? Should we not do it? Because if we move these rocks, these people going to come and attack us. And we already been attacked, so we don't want to be attacked no more. So they now doubting. They doubting God. God told them to go back and rebuild the wall. But now they questioning. Should we do it, God? Should we not? But we know you told us to do it, God. But should we not? But look at our enemies. They talking about us. They laughing at us. They mocking us. What should we do, Lord? I don't know what to do. Now they're getting confused. See, the devil come to bring confusion. He comes to kill, what? Steal, and destroy. So now he's coming in. All what God had told them to do their work. Now they're getting confused and they're getting fearful and they're getting scared and they don't know what to do. They don't know if they need to go left or right. They don't know if they should build or not build. Should they just stay there and just hope that nobody come and attack them? They just don't know what to do. So they're getting all a little bit into their feelings now. In the third verse, it says, now Tobiah, the Ammonite, was beside him and said, whatever they build, if even a fox goes up on it, he will break down their stone wall. So now he's making a joke. Another mockery. A fox. He's saying even a fox can go up on them little walls and they'll come fumbling down. So y'all ain't going to definitely get that wall built. But Tobias didn't know what he was doing. Just remember what I just told you about the relative that was picking on me to go to church. So Tobiah is picking on the Jews. At least that's what he's thinking he's doing. So now in verse 4, it says, hear, O our God, for we are despised. Turn thy reproach on their own heads and give them as plunder to a land of captivity. Do not cover their iniquity and do not let their sin be blotted out from before you. For they have provoked you to anger before the builders. So now, guess what? Nehemiah is stepping into this thing. Oh, y'all want to talk and y'all want to mock and y'all think y'all going to talk about God's people and what God told them to do, the construction workers and the builders and everybody that is supposed to come together and build up this wall again. Y'all want to talk against them? He said, y'all not going to come up against us. So now Nehemiah is stepping in there. Now remember, Sanballat and Tobiah, they don't like him. Remember, they don't like him for no good reason. They have tried 4 times to get him in meetings and places where they can hurt him, physically harm him. They try to set up plots to harm him. Not only that, they lied on him, slandered his name to the Persian king so the king could do something to him. I mean, they was really after Nehemiah because they saw something in him that he was great warrior and leader, that he could lead the people out of where they were at. And they didn't want them to be led out of their misery and out of their turmoil. So he wanted to keep them, Sanballat and Tobiah wanted to keep them down so they can come in and attack at any point in time. So that's what he was doing. But Nehemiah was there to help them because God sent him. So now Nehemiah said, I'm going to pray to God. See, y'all messing with the wrong people. I'm going to pray to God. So Nehemiah begins to pray and say, God, oh, hear my cry. Hear my prayer. And he began to pray and talk to God about, don't forget their sins, Lord. Don't you see what they're doing? Don't blot out the sins. Don't let their sins go unforgotten, Lord. Don't let them pass by. Don't give it a pass. Don't let them slide by, God. So he started talking. Now, remember I said when I prayed about my family member that I didn't say anything negative, but he's telling God, hey, you have to deal with them. Remember we talk about contend with those that contend with me. You let God fight your battle. So that's what he's going to God on. He said, Lord, you hear me now. You got to fight our battles because they can overtake us because you know we down, we feeble, we weak, and we don't know what to do really. So Lord, please fight our battles. So he's going to God. But the one thing that Tobiah messed up on, when you see down here in this verse where it talks about in 4, hear, O our God, for we are despised. Turn their reproach on their own heads and give them a plunder to a land of captivity. And then he jumps down here in 5 when it goes to the very last verse and says, for they have provoked you to anger before the builders. So Tobiah, when he provoked God to anger, didn't know, he thought he was just making jokes about the Jews. But what he didn't know, they was messing with God's appointed and anointed. And so when people or the enemy come up against you and they cause God to be provoked because they're messing with you, God deals with them. God deals with them. You don't got to fight your battle on your own because God's going to be there to fight your battle for you. So Tobias, he cursed himself, didn't even know he cursed himself, because then what he did, he was talking about something that God created and wanted them to create for him. It was God's will to have that wall built. It was God's wall. And he didn't even know it. He thought he was coming up against the Jews, but he was coming up against God. So when you come up against God, then you have to deal with him head on. And that's what happened to Tobiah. Okay? So that's in verse 4 and 5. And then 6 it says, so we built the wall, and the entire wall was joined together up to half its height, for the people had a mind to work. So the people began to have a mind to work. They was on one accord. They were standing together. They was trusting God. They was believing God. No matter what they were saying, they heard them. But then as they begin to get together and assemble themselves together and begin to talk positive things to each other and encourage one another and inspire one another, then they realize, hey, we can do this thing. I know it seems far-fetched, but we can still do it regardless of what they're saying over here, what these two people are saying. So they said, okay, we can keep moving a little bit more, even though we tired, we feeble, we are what they said they said we were, but we can still do this thing. Let's just see how far we can go and see how fast we can get this thing done. Okay, so that's 4:1-6. Can somebody read verses 7 through 10 or 11? Verse 7 through 11.
When Sanballat, Tobiah, and the Arabs, Ammonites, and Ashdodites heard that the repair to the walls of Jerusalem was progressing and that the gaps were being closed, they became furious. They all plotted together to come and fight against Jerusalem and throw it into confusion. So we prayed to our God and stationed a guard because of them day and night. In Judah it was said, the strength of the laborer fails, since there is so much rubble, we will never be able to rebuild the wall. In verse 11 says, and our enemies said they won't realize it until we're among them and kill them and stop the work.
So the enemies, they think they're going to do something. They ready to do this thing. They're ready to have an attack on Jerusalem for no reason. Now, remember, Sanballat and Tobiah, they wasn't supposed to touch the Jews because the king said, hey, you have no right to touch them while they're rebuilding or anything like that. Legally, they had no rights to go in to attack them. But they felt like we're going to do what we want to do anyway because we don't like Nehemiah. And we've been trying to seek him out for so long. We've been trying to get him. We've been trying to make him look bad. We've been trying to do everything we could do to make him look like he's the baddest, worst man ever. And we can't figure out a way to get him. They were trying to devise plans and plots and try to cause him to be entrapped and snared, but it did not work. All of the devices. And sometimes in our life, Satan sets us up. He'll set you up. He'll set you up. He'll set you up in a meeting and then have you there, and then everything go chaotic. And then you looking like, what? I've never been in this beat before. What is going on? What is going on? And you like, nothing got accomplished. I've had those meetings. I'm like, what is going on? Or somebody just really going from 0 to 100. Like, what's wrong with you? Out of control. And then you have to try to bring it back in and not lose your cool. So here in 7 says, now it happened when Sanballat, Tobiah, the Arabs, and the Ammonites, and the Ashdodites heard that the walls of Jerusalem were restored and the gaps were beginning to be closed, that they became very angry. They got an attitude. Because the walls are beginning to close in. They didn't think that the Jews could build the wall. So now it's coming in. And now y'all showing us what we said you couldn't do. Even after we now made a mockery of you and we talked about you. And then in 8 it says, and all of them conspired together to come and attack Jerusalem and create confusion. Setting them up with confusion. Why would you think the devil would need confusion to be in the midst of you? To discourage you, to keep you defeated, to keep you down, to get you off track, to distract you. So that's what Satan does. He keeps us going around in circles sometimes until we can't figure out why we keep going around in circles. Like last week, we was talking about B. Going around in circles like, hey, now you know that. You know how to identify that. Now, why you ain't doing that? Just wasn't doing it. So then you going to keep going around circles until you what? Somebody told me to I what? Pass the test. You told me to pass the test. And I said, I thought about that thing. Mr. Ness told me to pass the test. I said, I'm going to pass the test. But you told me to pass the test. True. Honey, that next day I was going there. And I said, missionary, I kept hearing, all y'all was in my head a whole week. Pass the test, pass the test, pass the test. This. I said, they said this. I got to do this. No, I can't do that. So pass the test to get the self-control. Because then now I identify, like you said, you know what the triggers are, but you didn't want to deal with them. You ignored them. Sometimes we keep ignoring stuff when we don't need to ignore nothing, and we need to speak to the mountain. We need to tell the mountain to be thou removed. We need to speak to the thing that's causing us that trouble so we can get our self-control and make sure we stay in our self-control and our character. So I wasn't speaking to the mountain. That's why I was getting out of character, missionary. Talking about, I'm mad at you. Yeah, getting out of character because I wasn't speaking to the situation and I had the self-control. See, I was letting somebody take me out of character and out of control when I could have stayed in control. And guess what? If I would have spoke to it, that person would have calmed down. Now, the funny thing about it, in that situation, I'm going to tell you another situation. The person was doing something and the other person told him to calm down. Do you know that person just simmer down like that? I said, well, dang. That's all I had to do. So I missed the book. And that one person ain't even a believer. And it's calm down. The person, calm down. Just like that. I said, wait a minute now. I know the word. Now, come on now. Yeah. You see how that was? Made a fool out of me. I'm a Christian. And the person just come. What? Like that? Oh my God. All I had to do was speak to it. And I'm acting all, wait there. Nah. Simmer down. Keep your cool. Keep your peace. You got to stay cool in the midst of a storm because if you get all right and you don't have no clear thoughts, then your thoughts get clouded. Then you can't think clearly. Then you don't know what to do. You can't listen to God for him to tell you what to do and give you the instructions. So in this particular instance, Nehemiah kept cool. His cool. He knew that they was more powerful than him. He didn't lose his cool. He didn't let them overturn what he was supposed to do for God and help them people build that wall that God told him to build. He kept his cool. He kept the peace. He kept quiet, he prayed to God, and he left it alone. He went away, and then he started devising a plan that God gave him to give to them to build back the walls of Jerusalem. But that's what we got to do. When we got a storm, you got to keep calm. We can't always be rah-rah. Oh, I'm going to get rah-rah. Oh. No, you can't do that. Because then you miss your blessing. You now overdo it, say something, you got no business do it, and next thing you know, boom. There it goes. You're out there.
I just wanted to comment.
Yes, sir.
And it just, and it just to me, I was as we were doing this part right here, it just supposed to be like you gotta endure. Because like initially, they came at you, they were mocking them and everything.
That's right.
So we ain't paying no attention to this. And so
there it is.
Oh, we ain't paying no. They seem like they can handle it. Okay, now what we gonna do? We gonna come at them. We gonna fight. So you got to really endure in this thing.
Yes.
And stuff because these where somebody attacking you or whatever, a lot of times they ain't gonna give up.
Mm-hmm.
So then, can you endure?
Woo.
How strong are you in what you believe?
That's good. That's good, Deacon. How strong are you in what you believe? That's a good question. How strong are you in what you believe? See, we come to church not just to get the word, but we got to apply it to our life. So that's why we keep coming back over and over again to get it. But then you got to take everything that you learn and you got to apply it to some part of your life. And if you don't, you're going to keep having to go through those same situations until you learn how to apply it. So that was a good point. Yeah. He wanted to create confusion. And then in 9 it says, nevertheless, we made our prayer to our God, and because of them, we set a watch against them day and night. So God gave Nehemiah what to do. He told him what to do. Y'all gonna stay in guard. Now, y'all might be a little tired, but in order to make sure that they don't come in and overtake y'all and seize y'all gonna stay in guard day and night. He gave him a plan. See, Sabalis and Tobiah, they didn't expect all of that. They just thought that they weren't going to be ready because they saw them building. So they didn't see no swords in their hand, so they can't be prepared. So if I come to you and I attack you when you're not ready, see, sometimes we're not ready. Sometimes we know when attack's going to hit us. We see it coming. God gave us instruction. He told us it was coming. Or you feel something in you that know that something is about to happen. And God's giving you that warning to prepare you. And then you sit there, la, 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 and don't prepare. And then, boom, you get hit. And then oh, my God. And you all out of sync. Because you didn't prepare when God gave you the warning. So God gave Nehemiah the warning, showed him that they were going to get attacked. And guess what? Nehemiah began to prepare, and he set things in order so that they would not get defeated. But how many times do we get defeated and have been defeated over certain things because we didn't prepare ourselves when God told us that something was going to happen? You kind of know, like a situation, I would say, earlier this summer, I was supposed to go somewhere. I was supposed to go like Florida or something. And all that week, God had been dealing with me, and guess what? I had the money. I could go. I was like, yeah, I'm going. And I kept saying, yeah, I'm going. Yeah, I'm going. And guess what? 3 things happened in that 1 week. But I kept feeling something in my spirit that something wasn't right. Something wasn't gonna go right. And Lord and behold, something happened. 3 things transpired. And it through that trip that I was wanting to go. Now, I had the desire to go. I wanted to go. Because I was like, ooh, fun in the sun. But nope. God said no. But what if I would have went? Anything could have happened. Anything. And God checked me on that. He said, now, if you go, and you know these events have happened, and you know you need not to go, just because you can still go, then he said, guess what? Anything can happen and you on your own. So that checked me right there. So I was like, because my life might be at stake. And so sometimes you have to be careful with that. And I was thinking about, and I don't know how many people have already watched the movie Black Panther. So I'm not going to tell the whole story. I think Evangelist talked about it last week. But when I looked at that movie and just seeing it and seeing some of the scenarios and how a certain person got taken that was valuable to Wakanda, and then the queen gave the order for the person to go find that valuable person that needed to come back to Wakanda. And she gave the order, but she said by all means necessary. So that means whatever. But she was in her emotions. She was in her feelings about this and didn't know what's going to happen. But she didn't care what happened as long as she got back what belonged to her. And because she made that one wrong decision, it cost her life. So I thought about it. I said, you can make that one wrong decision and it'll cost you your life. Because you got out of control because you was in your emotions. And you showed no self-control. You didn't stay calm. You didn't think stuff out. You weren't plotting things out clearly. You just moving. And after that one person got captured, guess what? She started moving. She was just impulsive. Just moving. Not really sitting down to think and plan it out strategically. She just kept moving until she got what she wanted back. But she told that person by all means necessary. And when the person had to do that, kill somebody else and somebody else count, then guess what? It stirred it up. It waged war.
She got her warning.
Come on now, Evangelist. She got her what?
She got her warning before it even happened.
Sure did.
She already knew.
That's right.
So she ignored the trigger. See?
Ignored the trigger.
Ignored the trigger. Come on. I'm telling you, it's revelation.
Yeah.
Ignored the
Trigger.
It cost her life.
Yes.
She ignored what was told to her.
Right. Because they already told her, I'm going to come for you.
Told her what they was going to do. Yeah. And she completely ignored it.
And that's a perfect example.
Yeah. Cost her life.
Cost her life. Yeah. Out of control, in emotions, did something, and then it cost her life, and it caused turmoil on her city. And then they had to live with that and figure out what to do from there. And she did, even when they got her valuable, precious thing back, guess what? They didn't even start preparing for the attack right away. And the attack happened immediately after that. They were still like, oh, let's just walk around. And then,
but
boom.
Remember what she got back told her, this wages war.
Mm-hmm.
And she did not believe it.
And it did.
Girl, that'll preach.
That'll preach. That'll preach, Evangelist.
That'll preach right now.
So, this is, and then when I thought about it, I put it back to this. They coming after these godly people, and you coming after the people. You better be ready for a war. Yeah. She wasn't ready. Well, you got to be ready. You got to be prepared. But she wasn't ready. So your adversaries, they on 11, it talks about, in our adversaries said, they will neither know nor see anything till we come into their midst and kill them and cause the work to cease. So Sanballat and Tobiah was after them now. Now they was starting to plot. They had a plan. They was ready to attack and go full force. And they wanted to kill them so that they work can cease. But still, they did not know they were God's people. And God told them to build that wall back. And they were coming after God's people. Remember, Tobiah already had cursed himself and provoked God to anger. So he didn't even know that he was on the list for God to deal with him. All right. So can somebody read 12 through 17 for me?
And it came to pass that when the Jews which dwelt by them came, they said unto us 10 times, From all places whence ye shall return unto us, they will be upon you. Therefore set I in the lower places behind the wall, and on the higher places. I even set the people after their families with their swords, their spears, and their bows. And I looked and rose up, and said unto the nobles, and to the rulers, and to the rest of the people, Be not ye afraid of them. Remember the Lord, which is great and terrible, and fight for your brethren, your sons and your daughters, your wives and your houses. And it came to pass, when our enemies heard that it was known unto us, and God had brought their counsel to naught, that we returned all of us to the wall, every one unto his work. And it came to pass from the time forth that half of my servants wrought in the work, and the other half of them held both the spears, the shields, and the bows, and the habergeons, and the rulers were behind all the house of Judah. Verse 17, They which build on the wall, they that bear burdens with those that laid it, every one with one of his hands, wrought in the work, and with the other hand held a weapon.
So was they prepared?
They was prepared.
They was prepared. God gave him instruction. Now, the one thing too to know about self-control, and just looking at this, sometimes you have to go through opposition. See, sometimes you have to go through the attack. God don't stop the attack. Now, God is God, and we say, God, won't you stop the attack? Sometimes God allows certain things to happen for a reason, to test your faith, to test your walk in him, to see if you're going to trust him, see if you're going to still have that self-control to be able to believe him that he's going to do it for you. So sometimes in opposition, it helps build you up and make you stronger. So sometimes when we go through opposition, we don't like it. It don't feel good. God knows, I've been through some stuff, and I said, Lord, like you said, you preached before, why me? Like, Lord, why me? Why? Lord, you couldn't choose nobody else. Yes, why me? So opposition will help build your faith and build you stronger than where you are in him. So opposition is not bad all the time. He had to see where the people were at. He had to see their faith level of the Jews. He had to see if they would endure, like Deacon talked about, endure and persevere in the midst of all that was going on. Can you still endure? Can you still keep your self-control? Can you still keep your peace? Can you still have this fruit of the Spirit? Can you have your patience? Can you have kindness and goodness and have self-control? Can you still keep all of that? Can you have the fruit of the Spirit in the midst of your attack? When somebody attacking you, can you still be peaceful with them? Can you still say goodness and mercy gonna follow you all the day of life? Come on now. And your enemy right there attacking you, you know they're attacking you. And they're going to tell you they're going to attack you. Can you still have the fruit of the Spirit?
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, Lord have mercy. So that's hard. And so they had to endure that. And they was positioning themselves. So when it says in 13 and 14, it says with these verses, Nehemiah, he said, hey, I'm going to position my men behind the lower parts of the wall at the openings, and I'll set the people according to their families with their swords, their spears, and their bows. And I looked and arose and said, the nobles to the leaders and to the rest of the people, do not be afraid of them. Remember the Lord great and awesome, and fight for your brethren, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your houses. Because guess what? Fear will start to sink in. So in fear, guess what? Sometimes we get out of control. When you fearful, you don't know what to do. You get confused. Oh my God, you get out of control. So you have to stay in character, still be calm, and have that self-control. So sometimes in life, stuff make us fearful, and we get out of control with it. And like I said to some people, you know how people say, you know, if anybody say something to me, I'm just gonna go from 0 to 100. Is that being in control? You out of control. And don't let nobody say I'm going 0 to 1,000. 1,000, you off the radar. My God. You know, young people, they'll say that quick. Nah, they don't know me. I'll go 0 to 100. And then don't let nobody say get bigger than that and one up and say I'll go 0 to 1,000. You know what it is. Y'all know the people say that now.
That's what they say,
They do say that. I'll go 0 to 1,000. Y'all know what it is. What? But is that self-control? And your 0 to 1,000, that can get you locked up. That can get you dead. That can have you do a whole lot of stuff you normally wouldn't do. Yeah. And then when you come back through in your right mind, I did all of that. Yeah, you destroyed a whole lot of stuff and you going to jail. Come on. You going to jail. And all of that 0 to 1,000. So you got to be in character. Don't get out of character. Don't lose your self-control. Don't lose your peace over people. Like people say, give a peace of mind. I learned now. I don't say that no more. I got to keep all the peace of mind I can have eventually. The peace of mind. You know, you used to say that we were growing up. They're going to make me lose my mind. No, not up in here. Not up in here. No, I'm going to keep all my mind. I need it. I got, yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely. You see, Mr. said, absolutely, we need all our mind. What we going through today, we need all the peace of mind we can get. We don't need nobody taking and stealing our mind. Not a peace of mind. Come on down. So they had their peace of mind, but they was fearful at first, but they still kept it cool. Nehemiah kept them straight, kept on track. Said, my God's going to come through. So the people could have very well left and walked off and left Nehemiah there and said, they ain't killing me today. But they did. When he gave them the strategy, they stood and they fought there. Guess what? Them people were good. But guess what? They heard about their plot. See, when Sanballat and Tobiah found out they heard about the plot, what did they do? They shrunk back. See, God made them get back. They was like, wait a minute. So now they know that we coming. So now we can't really destroy them and kill them and take them over because now we got a fight on our hands. So we come for them, they coming for me because they was ready and prepared. So God prepares you for everything that you got to go through in life. You just got to trust him. You got to trust. I be like, Lord, I got to trust you because I don't know what else to do because you know I be in my house by myself, girl. I be tired. I be like, Lord, help me. y'all think I'm playing. I be serious. I have to pray a lot. A missionary walking up down the halls, Lord, help me. Lord, help me. Y'all don't know. I have every room in my house is a prayer closet. I'm telling you. I ain't got one special room. It's all of the house. I mean, I won't showboat that. I got to go through it. You know what I'm saying? Every room got to be a prayer house, girl. I go through. Oh, sure. Every room I mentioned there. You know, you're supposed to have one special room, but eventually I couldn't just find one. I had to have them all. Jesus, help me. I have to have them all. Whew, Jesus, help me, Lord. So now let me tell y'all. Y'all forgive me on Facebook. So just listening to just some of this story, and we didn't even get back to 23. What do you think some of the strategies Nehemiah used? I'm going to start with Deacon Powell. What do you think some of the strategies he used to make sure that they weren't going to be defeated by the enemy? What do you think some of the strategies was?
What do I think some of the strategies was?
Yeah.
Well, I guess your main topic is self-control. He did not allow them to rattle him. Mm-hmm. And he understood that, you know, if they focused on and kept in what they believed mm-hmm. and practiced what they believed, that they could overcome.
That's right.
And so I think he was saying the biggest obstacle really is not the enemy itself. The biggest obstacle is our mind not believing in this case, not believing in God and what God has power to do. Mm-hmm. So as long as we can keep the enemy from eroding our faith, mm-hmm. then we don't have any issues. So we don't let the enemy erode.
That's good. Eroding your faith. Because mm-hmm. that's what it is. They're
trying to erode your faith. They're trying to pick at it little, by little, by little, by little.
At 5? Okay. Yeah. And faith. He kept saying they had to have faith. Now they kept getting attacked and then their faith was being tested. But they had to keep believing. Mm-hmm. They had to keep trusting. And they had to stay calm for God to do what he needed to do. And God saw them stay calm through all the midst of this, and then that's why he came through for them. But he got to see what you was working with. Sometimes God want to see what we working with. Got all that word, now what you gonna do with that word? You leave out of here and you don't use none of it, it don't matter, it don't count. because then now he don't know what you're working with. So you got to use that word. You got to use that word. So the story of Nehemiah teaches us this. One of the powerful messages of Nehemiah is how much you can accomplish when you align yourself with the will and the plan of God. Nehemiah and his followers do what seems to be impossible because they are doing what God has called them to do. You don't have to rebuild a wall to do the will of God. On top of that, his strategies also that he used to make sure that we can rebuild in even our lives is, number one, reset before you assess. Reset. Sometimes you got to go back, reassess what's going on, and then you can go through that process and working out whatever it is that you need to go through to make sure you don't get out of control no more. So last week, I had to what? Reset to assess where I was at and what was allowing me to get out of control, and don't allow that same thing or entertain that same thing to get me over back in that area that I was in before. So I had to reset. Assess before you address the problem. That was number 2. 3, involve others in the assessment. You guys help me. By we just talking about that one thing, and I learned so much about that. Number 4, be honest about what is broken. Be honest and truthful to yourself. Also, don't hold on to anything. You know how, some people, they're very quiet people sometimes, and they always tell you don't mess with the quiet people, because quiet people tear you up if you mess with them. But at the same token, don't suppress things. Deal with it, because if you don't deal with it, guess what? It keep eating at you. And then next thing you know, that one more thing, like Evangelist talked about last week, that person say something to you. Now, they now piss you off. But guess what? That person said something, and they just triple it. And now you raw on there, and they're like, what the world? Like we talk about, yeah, that's what happens because you hold it inside. You know how I know? Because I used to do that. From a young girl until I got to about college. I used to do that. Hold stuff in and suppress. And then I would go 0 to 100. And then real quick. And people were like, what's wrong with her? And I didn't know I had that in me, a missionary. Until I got to college and people roughed me up. But then I found I had it in me. But then I had to learn how to deal with that. Don't suppress. Deal with situations. Don't let them go so far and you don't handle them. Because then now you get what? Out of control. And that's what happens. So deal with them. Don't suppress things. All right? Remembrance is key in rebuilding. Remember what you got to go through. Remember what's causing you to go through those situations so you can offset that thing. Use other strategies and ways to bypass those things. If you need another prayer warrior, ask them to pray with you. I asked y'all to pray for me. I I said, slap some oil on me. I ain't scared. Slap it on me because I needed it. And you know what? I remember that. It did me some good. So pray for one another and don't be surprised by opposition. Okay? And the next thing is a couple more things. Know God's word. You got to keep reading the word of God. Get in God's word and go to the scriptures that talk about the things that you got to deal with. Don't keep reading the same old thing over. Psalms 23. Okay, we got that. Now you got to move to something bigger because you got to attack whatever is going on with you. So if self-control is your problem or not having good temper or attitude, you got to deal with scriptures that deal with that so you can keep reciting that and building your faith level up in that so that you can overcome that. All right? And then seek God's counsel through his word. Be aware of the danger of lack of self-control. In Proverbs 21:28, it says, a man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls. That's up next. You don't have no self-control. You just like the city, what we just said. We like Wakanda. They thought they had everything fortified, but them little sea goddess went under the sea and got them. They ain't have everything secure that they thought. They was like, how do you get in here? Because you didn't have everything fortified. So it's like broken into. Okay? And then the next thing is be prepared to suffer. Opposition will come to test you or try you, but it will help you to overcome the opposition that you have to go through giving of your self-control that you might need to have. And that's in John 16:33, where it says, these things I have spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of what? Good cheer. I have overcome the world. And that's the King James Version of John 16:33. So be prepared to suffer okay, and overcome the opposition to help you sustain in your self-control. And number 4, maintain healthy relationships. Be around people that mean you good. If you know if you're going to be around a person that take you out of character, you can't hang out with them. You can't be around them. I remember I used to be in college, and I know I used to have a girlfriend. You mess with that joker. That joker was 0 to 100, and I picked up some of those what? Because I hung out with her. So that if you messed her up, oh, she ready to fight you. So, yeah, can't hang out with you. You got to maintain healthy relationships around people that have self-control. And then, number 5, pray. Rejoice always, pray without ceasing, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ for you. That's 1 Thessalonians 5:17. Learn how to control your emotions. Your emotions will get you in trouble if you don't learn how to control them. Because we are, by nature, are emotional creatures, but you also have to have some self-control over your emotions, and don't let your emotions get the best of you. Like you hear people say, I wear my emotions on my sleeve. Well, why are you wearing them on your sleeve? You know, you do. Some people feel just emotional people, they might just like, woo, over anything. You might say one thing and they like out of control. That might pop off at you because they're wearing their emotions on their sleeve because they feel like they're an emotional person. So you have to have control, self-control over your emotions. You know, yeah, we in a body, a human body, but again, God got to deal with you in your areas where you are more emotional at, so that you don't be that emotional. And that's a hard pill to swallow, but that's the truth. You know, so that is our topic for tonight. I didn't know that it was going to take this long, but we kind of wanted to go through that story of Nehemiah. And it kind of touched my heart about, you know, how he was so patient, had self-control through all that they had to endure. Even the people, they was about to give way, but then they got themselves together and got back on track and stayed focused. And God was able to honor them in their prayer and their requests. So that's a blessing. So self-control. Whenever you got to deal with something on this week, go ask God. Pray to God to show you how to have self-control. And that's what I've been doing. I've been doing from last week to this week. God help me. Let me have self-control. Okay, if they pop up, let me go the other way. Lord, let me not entertain. Or let me shut my door. Or Lord, don't let me go over there if they're going to cause me to act up or come out of character. So I'm learning how to, you know, just skirt around the ends. Don't go over there. Okay, oh, that's going to cause me. I got to go back. Oh, no, you're not going to get me with that. Y'all got me the last time and I got in trouble. So I'm learning how to maneuver and pray about it and let God lead me and show me how to deal with that situation so that I don't get myself caught back up in the same trap. So self-control, have you some self-control on this week in those areas, and ask God to help you in whatever area it is, and he's going to help you because he knows your heart is sincere. All right? Well, praise the Lord, everybody. Thank you for joining in on tonight on Facebook, everybody. We welcome you to come to our church, the Love Center Church, on this Sunday at 10 a.m. for a celebration of praise. Come out, 3926 Market Street, Suite 204, Wilmington, North Carolina, 28403 what? 3 or 5 or 1, one of the two. One. But y'all come on through here and y'all Google us.